some reason. Welcome everyone to Scotslam Live. I'm Lewis, and tonight I'm joined by none other than Greg, Liam, and Ryan. We've got a small missing person tonight, not literally small, and Michael. He can't make it tonight, so he will join us, I'm sure, on the next podcast. We are now streaming tonight on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope on Twitter. So come get involved in the chat. We're talking all things wrestling. Tonight we're talking RAW and NXT. So we'll get right into it. We'll start with what we've been calling for the past couple of weeks, the worst show to watch on wrestling television at the moment. It started off better, we've got to say. Straight into wrestling, you cannot grumble at that. Starting off with wrestling opposed to a shoddy 40-minute promo for a match we already found out about last week, then we can't really complain with wrestling. So it started with Charlotte, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler versus Asuka, Dana Brooke, and Mandy Rose. So, what was your kind of overall thoughts with the start of that one, Liam?
I actually quite liked the start of it. I had to rewind it twice because I thought I'd missed out on a promo or an introduction to something. I thought that's can't be right. They're fighting right away. But I thought this was interesting and strange, at bits. I thought obviously the bit with Lily and the foot getting stuck was a bit reminiscent of maybe Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy and some cookiness of the past, but quite hard to suspend your disbelief in these magical powers, and feet getting stuck. But I actually thought the match was pretty decent. Quite good to see Charlotte and some decent action. I know there was a little bit of an interruption, but I actually quite enjoyed it. I thought it was okay. I still think the Shining Wizard sounds like somebody's went too far with a Brazilian. It's a strange sounding name for a finisher, but I actually quite enjoyed this one.
It was certainly an interesting one, to start with. The foot getting stuck, I've got to say. It was interesting. I don't know, they didn't really make it obvious, in my opinion, to maybe some viewers that might not really picked up on that. They might have just thought, what's going on here? She injured herself, or is it anything to do with that? Maybe they've not really picked up on that. But personally, I don't think they've not really made it obvious that that's what was happening. But at the same time, it could have been something more spectacular in the sense of what we've seen with the Fiend. What did you make of the kind of match overall, Greg?
I thought the match was great as well. It was for a change, just actually seeing wrestling rather than kind of taking minutes, half an hour to go in that game. But no, it was great to see Asuka. I love watching Asuka in action. I think she's great. I think she just really, for me, the kind of part that she kind of had. Mandy, Dana Brooke, I thought they worked. I really liked their tag team, Mandy Rose and Brooke. I think they really worked well together. And then just obviously kind of what happened throughout the match as well was really good. But no, it was a good start. It was good to see us, especially building up to a clash now, which is going to be a big triple threat. But no,
absolutely. But it was good to see. Your favourite, Greg, I think she's been holding off waiting for you to come back on this podcast, mate. Alexa Bliss coming back. She's been holding off. You must have been in cahoots with her, mate. Telling you.
So seen her as well, sitting there during the match, swinging away, and then see at the end when she was pure laughing and stuff, like Lily's, and she just kept laughing. I thought that was absolutely brilliant, man. That was great. Think of who maybe Lily's got an eye on, like obviously we've seen Sonya Deville, So
Fruit.
So could it be Charlotte possibly? Because obviously Charlotte and Sonya are kind of coinciding. You don't know, that would be.
Well, let's throw it around the table.
But
We'll start with you. We'll start with you, Greg. We'll see who's your call. You have to call somebody. Who should you get an eye on?
I think Charlotte. I think just with this kind of more Charlotte and kind of more dark, she's kind of more brutal. I think it would actually be quite interesting.
Yeah, that's a good shout, mate. It's a good shout. Ryan, what about yourself? Obviously, with the match, do you think is there anything in the match that gave it away for you that maybe you think, or is it just a blatant obvious answer because of the title?
I'm on the same kind of lines as Greg. I think it's kind of got to be leading up to Charlotte. But if it was to be obvious and it's red, then it'd be obviously the women's title, and it'd be being Rhea, which I think would be very interesting, especially with the two characters.
Will be yourself, Liam? Are you kind of along the same lines, or have you get a spanner to throw in the works here?
I'm going to go for Shayna. I think Shayna's going to be raging at her foot getting stuck. I think there's a storyline pathway there that might make sense, but I'd love to say I was confident in that because I couldn't tell you the last time that a RAW storyline made sense to me.
Been a while. Aye. Certainly. I would probably say I would go with Liam on this one, to be honest with you. I think more because it's the mind games, but it's also a good way to break away Shayna from the tag team and get away from Nia Jax's hole. And obviously, Reginald was purely in that match, just in my opinion, right? He was only there. I'm actually giving him a shout out for once, in a slightly positive way. I think he was personally only in the match there, so that the commentators can say what a high flying match because he just had a flip after the apron. That is literally it. Because none of the other performers in there were doing many high flying moves, so that's how they can get away with that one. So we'll move on for that. It was better than some weeks, but let's hope it ends at Backlash. Here's hoping. Backstage with a wee segment, one of our favourite segments of Raw, which is probably one of the only things I think that keeps us watching. And we've got a wee message from Michael here. Please God, let this happen. For the world to see.
Michael did. He did phone me earlier when he was sending in his apologies, and he wanted to apologise to anybody who tuned in last week who was blinded by the glare off his foredome. So, message passed on, Michael. Thanks very much.
At least he talks about it.
So, back to the backstage segment. I think it's keeping us entertained throughout the Raws, the comedy factors that they seem to be throwing in, they're nailing. Riddle and the New Day. So RKO Bro are not yet official until they sign their registration form, which they're saying that Almost and AJ haven't done yet. So there was all sorts of language getting thrown about new words. Bromatos, bro nuts, you name it. What did you just kind of make of that promo? Would you say it's going strong, or is it getting a bit stale for you, or are you just not really giving a fuck?
I love everything about this. Every single thing about it. I could watch this, and I know it's probably not going to last long. I'll enjoy it while it does last, but I would love this to last for a long, long time. It's not quite Jericho and Kevin Owens, but it's nearly there. And watching Randy Orton trying not to crease up as Matt Riddle's pulling faces and looking at him, that's been my highlight of the day. Even the stupid things with the New Day, like let's catch up and stuff like that. And I know it's childish, but I absolutely love it.
Bro Nuts is one of my personal favourite ever been said. And from now on in the chat, Bro Nuts is used at least once a day in our chat. It's fucking hard in tears.
I agree. What did you make, Greg, of the SpongeBob reference? You a big SpongeBob fan back when you were younger?
That was brilliant. He did. Squidward, amazing, man. man. Honestly, just the way he did the face. No, that was highlight. Absolutely fantastic. I don't know how he got him. And no laugh. I was like, Squidward. Just kind of did the impression, but it's so good.
It's building.
It's
That
good
we
to
just
see
know. We know the way.
What in that kind of
Oh, sorry, mate. There you go, mate. Sorry, mate. We delay, I think.
I just got to say, it's good to see Randy Orton a more serious character. And it's kind of good. He's kind of got that kind of different side where you can just go along with it and have a laugh and stuff as well. So it's keep definitely.
Absolutely. And I think we all know Randy Orton. He's I like the way they're playing it personally, but we'll probably come more to that during our match later on. But we just know what Randy's like. He's never too easy to read. So as I say, we'll go into more depth for that when it comes up to the match. But that jumped to another backstage moment. MVP. This was one that I was hoping Michael was here for, so I really appreciate him. But MVP, he pays a wee visit to Braun in his locker room. I'm surprised Creative didn't actually fire some train noises from in behind the door. Don't know about you guys, but I was kind of just waiting for that, and it never came, unfortunately. The one time you want it, it doesn't appear. Now, what did he make about his? Aye, so he's obviously trying to convince Braun to basically be on side with him, take Drew McIntyre out of the picture. Now, at this point in the show, did any of you ever think for a second that he was going to take it and run with
it?
No, I thought it was actually going to cost together. I didn't expect him to do that to Lashley as well. It was like, how many times or something did he do McIntyre? It was like 3 or 4 or something, and then obviously the one for Lashley kind of threw the back. That the ending was a bit of a surprise for me. It was good that he'd come in, but aye, definitely choo-choo,
It's another language been added to the group chat, of course. So what about you guys? Are you getting kind of like the vibe off of this storyline? Is it adapting in a way that you can still find it watchable, or are you kind of starting to think it's getting a bit too repetitive?
I don't know why they don't just call it WrestleMania, play the same matches back to Backlash. It's the same stuff all the time. For me, it's far too repetitive and it's difficult to sustain interest. And even the things they do to try and create some variation are the same. So I am actually looking forward to the match, but I think it's been a tedious build-up.
Aye, I would agree with yourself, Ryan. You can, what's your thoughts on that side of things?
Aye, the build-up's been fucking very shit. It's just been too slow in my opinion. But the same thing. The match itself, just got caught Backlash because that's what it is. It's just fucking fuck WrestleMania a bit. It's Backlash. Will be probably really good because all 3 men can perform. So it'll be probably one of the matches in a night.
Absolutely, I can see that myself, to be fair. But we'll see how it develops. Also, we'll go into more depth with the main event later on in this segment or show. And we move on to yet another segment. They're just nailing them. Is this now? I think it's a hat trick of segments here. We're making up for the non-start segment, which we normally have at the start of Raw. Thankfully, it wasn't present. So we got this far. Damian Priest versus The Miz. It's announced for Backlash. Now, there was a wee segment backstage with John Morrison, Johnny Drip, as he goes by, with his same comedic effect as always, with the kind of pointing the thumb, which was fantastic. I like the wee kind of wee bit that he put on where they were saying, bring a towel tonight, Damien. Forecast call for drizzle, which was good. So I thought it was quite an interesting one. We're not seeing. We drove away from, I think, the past 2 weeks with the whole general manager kind of war. We didn't really see much of that at all during Raw. So it seemed to be more, you're seeing just either Deville or you're seeing Pierce, one or the other. So tonight he seemed to be able to make a decision. although they were put right in front of him by the wrestlers still. But you had, is it going to go this way or that way, when basically they were saying whoever wins the match gets to pick the... Gets to pick the... I think my sound just disappeared there. Gets to pick the stipulations for the Backlash match. Now, what was your first thoughts on that, Liam? Did you have a good idea who was going to win that, and did you have an idea what they were maybe, or we still don't know, to be fair, but have you got an idea what you think maybe it's going to be?
No, I'm not sure. I'm also no bothered. Either way. This is another one of those where I think, similar to WrestleMania, the build-up is diluting my anticipation. It's not really adding any value to me. It's getting in the stage now where I've seriously contemplated leaving out watching some of the Raws before a pay-per-view, because I think my actual imagination can get more excited about the pay-per-view than some of the build-up. There's nothing about this excited me at all.
It's repetitive. I agree. It's one of these ones I've wanted to end pretty much the 1 or 2 weeks after that WrestleMania, and that's probably me giving them too much time, to be honest. But I can't wait until it's over, to be honest, because I still think Damien Priest deserves somebody a bit more. I'm not saying these two guys aren't able to do it. It's just that it's run its course, and I think he needs another challenge to now elevate him to the next level. Either you, Greg, or Ryan, do any of you think that there's somebody out there maybe that can be that next person to elevate them?
Well, if it's staying in Raw, maybe a feud with Braun after he's done with all this kind of stuff. It's like, just to give him a different kind of opponent. Probably still play the babyface and keep Braun heel. But I'm trying to rack my brain for Raw wrestlers, and just nothing's coming to me except the big fucking...
What about Sheamus, Ryan?
Sheamus as well. I mentioned him last week. I cannot mention him this week. A feud for the US title would be fucking fantastic.
I'd love that.
Michael's chipped him a wee bit. He's here in spirit, so he is. So do you not think it's mental that this has been going on since Raw after Royal Rumble, just because Miz smashed the legend Bad Bunny DJ set? Yeah, I know it was a horrific event, so it was, and I think it's something that should have been dealt with day one.
Take that comment out.
Not a chance. It will stay. You chose me as a host tonight. It's staying there all night. No, I'm kidding.
Just time it out for 10 minutes.
Aye, no, I think it's. I think obviously when we. Who's it, mate?
I'm just saying. I think for saying, I would love to see Damien Priest go against somebody like Keith Lee, the two for NXT and that and stuff as well. I think if you're just to kind of push on the level, I think they're just better than him and stuff like that. Damien Priest has not been in Raw long. Keith Lee's been there a wee while, but not too long, just to kind of bring that, I don't know, freshness back into Raw, because as Liam was saying, and Ryan as well, like the storylines aren't there. So having two people like that just go at it, then it'd be brilliant.
Listen to the man. Listen to him. He's a secretly listening to it. I know you've all got it in your playlist. And
what are you talking about?
I'll take this opportunity to point out that Michael listened to a Kylie Minogue CD on the when he was 8 years old, trying to lecture us about music.
I'm waiting for the bombardment of messages. Get me in this live now.
Right, fuck your fit by him.
Oh, brilliant. So, Aye, like Michael actually pointed out, it's been going on since the Rumble, so it's a long-winded thing. It certainly has felt it. It's one of these ones that's definitely felt like it's been on for this length of time. So, to be fair, it's probably out of all the feuds, maybe minus the Bad Bunny one, of course. It's probably been the best feud out of them. With the John Morrison and him, they're more similar in ways that you wouldn't realise. I think with their kicks and stuff, they're kind of quite similar in that sense. But at the same time, they're also quite different because obviously Morrison is very high flying. Maybe Damien Priest isn't too high flying. He still has his kind of roundhouse kick for the top rope and stuff like that, but he's still nonetheless are still slightly different, but they still clash to a point that they work well together. So I think if you were going to judge it from January, it's probably one of the best ones it's got to be, surely.
I agree with you, Lewis. It has been
definitely.
It has been a good week.
Aye.
Greg, you still on the dial?
Oh man!
On you go, son.
Oh, I had to lose it there. I just couldn't keep it in.
Man, honestly. Please do.
Oh Jesus! Compose.
I know. Get myself together here, honestly.
So, Greg, in case there's any first-time viewers watching, explain to them that it's not an actual technology thing. That delays your processing.
Well, that's not a bad thing, do you know what I mean? I think that's something good to say.
So, Greg, roll it, mate. What was your thoughts, mate?
Aye, no, I think as you're saying, I think it's probably been the better lines that kind of come up just as you were saying for in-ring ability and watching Slip perform level. I think it's been good. Of them is right enough. I watch every day. Honestly, I think he's superb. I think he's the character that it kind of comes across. And it suits it. For me, it's quite funny. It's quite interesting. But the actual having Morrison in it is one thing with Priest. I don't think it's worked as well as it could. So I think the team is maybe take a different path as well, maybe away from Morrison, in my opinion, just something totally more. Go for maybe a different title. I think kind of break a wee bit and there's something different to see as well.
I think you're right, mate. To be fair, there's a good chance of something maybe happening there. I think there's always obvious signs, and the Miz getting frustrated with Morrison, and maybe not vice versa yet. Morrison seems to be a bit too unaware of how Miz is reacting from him. But what do you think, Liam? Are you kind of seeing that yourself? Are you seeing maybe a wee feud going on between the two of them, or do you think they're just genuinely going to break away mutually?
This is going to hurt, but I agree with Greg. It's difficult to say, but I would quite like to see them go their separate ways. I'd like to see Morrison as a singles competitor again, and maybe open up some of the roster for him. You know, it doesn't really matter what the Miz does. They can throw anything at him. He'll find a way, you know, to sell it and make it work. He's dead reliable, but he's been there for a long time. He's got consistency and continuity behind him. People are probably going to invest in whatever he does. Just now, Morrison's kind of hanging off his coattails, and he's good enough, you know, to be on his own. I'd quite like to see him given a decent push and maybe challenge for a title. There's another one I'd quite like to throw into the mix with Sheamus. I'd quite like to see two completely different styles, but both guys really, really good in the ring. I'd quite like to see them. And I don't know, if they were to break them up, I wouldn't actually mind Morrison, you know, moving to SmackDown, where there's maybe more natural competition for him there.
That's a shout. I think you're right with that, to be honest. It would be good to see him getting a bit more utilised as such. Like you say, it has been hanging along with us a bit too long. Yeah, and we know, basically, if you put them side by side, Morrison's certainly probably more athletic when it comes to the moves he can pull off So it would be good to see him pick up a bit of gold. What do you think yourself, Ryan? Are you kind of along the same lines as Liam? Do you want to see him on SmackDown? Do you want to see him going for another championship on SmackDown?
Oh, definitely. I think he's good enough to go to SmackDown and probably even challenge Roman Reigns eventually. So build him up, give him the IC title, give him a decent run of that, and move him up because he is main event material, or he can be main event material. He's just obviously stuck in these feuds and storylines that last 4 or 5 months that don't really build up or get overbuilt and overdone. So it's time he breaks away and does his own kind of thing now, definitely.
Aye, I totally agree. We move on to a nice new fresh match for Raw with Jeff Hardy versus Jinder Mahal. He's returned with Veer and Not Too Shanky. That's not his real name. Thankfully, there's no sign of the Bollywood ball bags as well, which is great. So I'm in total celebration of that because they annoyed the hell out of me. Now, what's your thoughts on that, guys? Obviously, one half of the in the share are missing. Obviously, answers there. We don't know if they're genuinely going to be back in as a tag team or if the guy's long gone. I don't know. Last I heard, he was injured. I'll throw this one to you, Ryan, because I know you know quite a bit about him.
Well, if they broke up on our tag team, I might need to fly to America and maybe fucking stab somebody to maybe get my point across. Because I think the other half in the share is actually injured, so hopefully he comes back, makes it like a trio behind him. Shanky, I don't know a lot about Shanky. I've seen him on that India mini pay-per-view they had, and he was decent. But I never thought I'd say this, but I'm actually really happy to see Jinder Mahal, and I don't know why. He's so fucking like Maharaja. It's like, oh, I fucking like you. I don't know why, but I really like you.
What was your kind of thoughts that yourself, Liam? Were you quite happy to see him, or are you kind of just one of these ones? Oh, here we go again.
No, I love Jinder, but fuck this and fuck everything about that match and fuck the way Jeff Hardy, an absolute disgrace. Watching a legend like that for a return when there's still mileage in that legend, it makes no sense to me. This isn't a guy that should be at the end of his career, on the receiving end a beating like that. I would quite like to see more of Jeff, and I think for people who are maybe younger than me, who are not going to be as emotionally invested in this guy as me, I don't really know where that leaves them in the company. So I love Jinder. I'm glad to see him back. I love the whole don't hinder the Jinder stuff and all of that. But he's a decent pro in the ring. He can sell a story. He'll do anything. The 3-man band thing was fucking ridiculous, but they gave it their best. And actually seeing his rebirth in the shock him winning the title, I loved that. So I'm glad to see him back. I'm interested to see what they do with him. If they don't give him a good run and they don't play him as a main event superstar, then that makes it even more disgraceful what they did to Jeff on Monday.
Couldn't agree more. What's your kind of overall thoughts, Greg? Are you kind of quite happy with the match itself and the way it's panned out, and obviously Jeff taking that L?
No, I'm sorry for Jeff. I know it was a comfortable win for Jinder Mahal in the end, but I like it's the least Jeff Hardy deserves it. You know what I mean? I thought it was going to be worse, and it was good that he was actually in the match a bit and he made it the legend he is to then get beat. I think Jinder Mahal maybe should have faced somebody that was still kind of building up, maybe not as credible as Jeff Hardy. I think there's kind a different position. I think even like going to war with people, Tyre and Lashley and Sheamus. I mean, the concept brilliant, and I think it's something the fans can get invested in. And I think again, it's just different as well. It's just the same, and it's the same kind of round and round and surfing. Like, yeah, where they go. But I think the fact that he is back and how kind of good he has been, they need to put him on some sort of decent. I don't think it's fair to bring him back and he's to do anything. I think hopefully there's kind of big plans ahead for him, and it'll be interesting to see. Aye, definitely.
I think you're right there, mate. When it comes to like say Jeff Hardy, we've seen him kind of thereabouts. He's kind of been on the fringe of a lot of matches that we've seen, but he's never really quite been in contention for anything. I was quite disappointed myself to see that, although obviously their aim there was to bring Jinder back and get him off to a strong start, of course, and they want to start building them up from up here instead of starting them right at the bottom and having to slowly build them until they get to a big event or something. So they're obviously thinking that wasn't going to do too much to Jeff's reputation as such, I think. But it doesn't hurt him, to be fair, because he could have lost to worse people. He could have lost to maybe Bo Dallas or something. Do you know what I mean? And you would have been, what are they thinking there? Do you know what I mean? Completely. But at the same time, I is disappointed to see that, considering it would be nice to see Jeff get a push again, because he deserves it. He said it himself in interviews that he wants to go for another push, another stretch in his career before he hangs up the boots. He's not specified on what belt or anything, so it's not like he's trying to say, "Oh, I'm going for the top belt," and that's that. But if he does, I would say he warrants it and deserves it, because what he's gave this company. But it was disappointing, and as Liam says, I genuinely think it would be a travesty for them to let Mahal win here, and then he just gets his kind of push just gets cut short, and it just does none of them any favours at all. But overall, the match was good, something fresh, something good. But hopefully, both men have some nice wee kind of paths leading up to a championship match of any kind, really, because I don't think you'd really complain about seeing either one of them in some sort of match. I would personally like to see Big Jinder take on Drew again if he holds the title. I think that'd be quite good, because I know they're quite pally outside the wrestling, so it'd be quite interesting to see them in the ring and see what they can do together. But we'll move on from that questionable loss that Jeff took to the New Day and RK Bro versus AJ Styles, Omos, Elias and Jackson Riker. Riddle and Elias kicked off at the 8-man tag in a furious lockup. Now, what was your kind of thoughts of that, Ryan? What was your of the match itself, considering we've just seen a 10-man tag probably last week?
Oh, it's again, Raw trying to use fucking all our talent in one match. It's just typically Raw. It's a decent match in itself. I mean, with the talent in the ring, it's kind of hard not to have a good match, especially with New Day and AJ and Randy in the match. It's always got to be decent. I think the way they're building Omos is probably correct. We're not giving him too much time, but still showing that he's a presence, which is good, because he's a big guy. He's still learning, so it's probably right how they're kind of building him up slowly that way. And on the end of it, I think it's very smart what they've done is keeping Randy very, very unpredictable, especially with the RKO and Woods and Kofi, and then Matt Riddle nearly having a wee great.
Absolutely. Liam, do you see, I think you've touched upon it at the start of the show, can you see this tag team making it as far as SummerSlam together, or do you think Orton's going to turn on them before then? Because we've seen them turn on Kofi and Xavier Woods at the end of that match, obviously sparing the broski, but is he going to end up turning him one day? Is he going to do something to piss him off?
As much mileage as he can get out of this, I want. So I'm hoping not. I'm hoping it makes it beyond SummerSlam through Survivor Series into the Royal Rumble next year. Even if that takes Riddle you know, been manipulated by up into a heel turn against his will, or you know, whatever it takes. I love this. I love it. Randy did what he did at the end there, because that's him. It's true to his character, and I'm hoping that this is the beginning of a story arc. You know, where maybe Riddle gets gradually desensitised, you know, to these things, and realises that actually to be one of the main guys is got to be like the Viper. That's what I'm hoping for. He'll probably pissing against the wind. It'll probably break him up my heart.
We're good at that. Very good at that. Greg, so what do you see, mate? Do you see that having any repercussions? Randy Orton, RKOing the New Day? Especially, I'd imagine Randy Orton's got a bit of hatred towards Kofi for wrecking his race car a couple of years back. He's probably that's still back in the mind there somewhere, I think. But what do you make of that, Greg? Do you think there's going to be any further feuds between the two?
Aye, definitely. Aye, I think that would be the point. So I do. I think the way it kind of ended, again, as I said, perfect to Randy Orton's character. I think they're two quite similar in a way, similar in a sense, but just in like the kind of chemistry wise, I think they would have a great match with Kofi Kingston, high flying abilities and stuff like that. But with Randy Orton, you on the spot and win a match, and I think the two of them would go quite lengthy and stuff as well. Just actually touch. Well, I thought Elias. I think it's a push for Elias, but I would love to see Elias and Mike the tag team or something, because I think they're really starting to kind of get a push that they deserve. But no, that would be a classic, instant classic, definitely.
Aye, I like you say, mate. It is something that's easily overlooked with Riker and Elias. They're quite similar in ways, obviously with looks, I think, as well. I think everybody can probably see that already. The big bushy beard and the long hair. It's as if they were separated at birth almost. Maybe not quite, but quite similar in ways anyway. But it would be quite interesting. It's good to see maybe we're getting some interesting tag teams. Well, maybe not go as far as solid tag teams just yet, because we need to see them prove their worth. But fingers crossed, it's good things going forward with Raw tag teams. Here's hoping. We're going to move on to a rather interesting match, something we don't see every week. Sheamus and Humberto Carrillo. Unfortunately, the match build-up was... I thought Sheamus' promo was spot on. I thought it was fantastic. I love the way he called it. One of the commentators, and Corey Graves, basically saying he would give him a chance, and he's got no chance. He's got no chance to win the title. Love things like that. It was brilliant. Unfortunately, the match was brought to an abrupt end, even though what we did get to see was rather quite good. And with Carrillo just returning from a long-term injury, I think it's quite disappointing on that side of things for him, along with the side of the fact that he's maybe just get his chance at gold, and this feud could have went somewhere. So unfortunately, my eyes, don't know about you guys, I'll throw it over to you in a second, but I think it's looking like it's going to be Mansoor that's going to get his shot now. What's your thoughts yourself, Liam?
This is, for me, another Jesus Christ, man, what he's thinking about. You know, see if you look at the way young guys at AEW are protected, you know, folk like Sammy Guevara, and they're looked after by legends who are going to not just look after them developmentally, but protect them in the ring. Sheamus and Carrillo, what's that? You know, why don't we just get Ryback in to fight Dominic Mysterio? Why don't we just get Goldberg to crush Sammy Guevara? These things are mental. Why would you put that boy in there with Sheamus? Young boy, a lot of talent, lots to offer. Why not have Sheamus and Jinder fight each other and at least give Jinder a credible win? Why not have Jeff Hardy, who's got a much more similar style to Humberto Carrillo, bring out the best in that young boy while protecting him at the same time? That's honestly really angers me, because you're talking about a young guy's career. He's only just come back from injury. Everybody knows that Sheamus is stiff. I love him, you know, but put him in there with somebody that can handle it. You know, a young boy just coming back from injury who's trying to make a name for himself, and this could ruin his whole momentum. Who knows, you know, if he's going to be able to come back soon. And if he does, what does it look like that he's been injured off of Sheamus? that's not really great for an upward trajectory of, somebody's career momentum. So this makes me, want to strangle whoever thought that was a good idea and creative, because you guys know better. A lot of your experienced professionals have been in the game, and what you talk about is that kind of brotherhood and fraternity, where you try to make sure that nobody get hurt. What else is going to happen here?
Exactly. They took a lot of risky moves throughout the match, I think, before that actual injury occurred. Obviously, some of them are Humberto's own moves, fair enough, but there was some moves obviously involving Sheamus putting a hit on him anyway, and that really did put the risk factor up to well past the 100% mark. You just maybe looking back in hindsight, you could go, it was just a case of when that injury was going to occur. What did you kind of make of that yourself, Ryan?
I'm very on the same lines as Liam. It's like they probably are trying to push Carrillo, but against me, a stiff guy like Sheamus, especially coming back with a pretty serious injury, that's not the right move. Definitely no, that's not the right move. It's like, I would rather have seen him like swap places with Jeff. Maybe have Carrillo against Jinder, Jeff against Sheamus. That's like two credible matchups. It pushes Jinder and Carrillo, because they both have a decent match, and get Jinder win, and also have Jeff against Sheamus, who's one of the top guys on Raw, and it's for a title.
Of course, and it revisits the kind of wee feud they had beforehand, when obviously Sheamus was kind of calling him an alcoholic and whatever else he was calling him under all the names under the sun. It sort of revisits that, which I think it was something everybody would be up for seeing again, definitely, and revisiting that kind of feud. Greg, what was your kind of thoughts, mate, when it comes to what the guys are saying? Would you have done the same with pairing these guys up with different partners or opponents as such?
Saying I know what the guys are saying. I think for the thing that Carrillo was put in, I thought he did extremely well. I mean, you were taking man off rope, and his drop kicks were good, but when Sheamus was hitting him, waiting for the moment your heart was in your mouth constantly. You were just waiting for the serious damage, and then having him do a move like that just heart, do you know what I mean? Because you know that you instantly with this guy could do it again for months. But why not? But even somebody and Xavier Woods are kind of similar. They two have been champions and they've experienced. So I know it's not going for a match against champions who have had so much experience in that sense. Is only going to do them good for a title. But he pair him some Sheamus who went to war with McIntyre, and we all know what McIntyre like and stuff. I don't know what they were. Hopefully, I mean, he's all right, and it's a speedy recovery for him, and he can kind of get back on a bit. But no, it was silly. It really was silly.
I think that's a good shout, Greg. Somebody like Xavier Woods, who's not only a seasoned professional, but if the guy's a wee bit green, he's going to be able to talk him through that style of match. If he does something wrong, if it looks like it's going to head for a botch, somebody like Xavier Woods is going to anticipate what he's done wrong with a Hurricane Rana. Sheamus hasn't jumped off the top rope doing those types of moves, so how's he supposed to be able to protect a guy, if something's going slightly wrong? So I think that's a good shout. A seasoned pro who maybe understands what Carrillo's trying to pull off while he's still a bit wet behind the ears, and a much safer way to go.
Absolutely, none of us are pointing the finger at Sheamus saying it's obviously his fault, because we know that the matches get made and these wrestlers have to face whoever they're facing. They don't really get a choice in the matter most of the time, unless you're the big dog like Taker, obviously, who's going to get to call the shots, of course. But that's for obvious reasons, and quite rightly so. But I think that along with what you guys are saying, with the fact that obviously the pairing there, you've got to kind of look as well as at maybe the mic skills. I mean, Carrillo's not exactly seasoned on the mic himself. He's not exactly experienced with back chat and stuff like that. He's had a wee bit of a kind of feud with Angel Garza, which is fair enough, because they can bounce off each other because they've probably been doing it all their lives, because obviously their family so on the way up to the wrestling. they've been doing it. So that kind of thing could have worked. They could even revisit that, see, put something on that. Fair enough, albeit not be for a title. But I think personally, I would agree with you guys with who you paired them up against, because you would certainly get better mic promos. Because let's face it, it was a win for Sheamus on the promo side of things. There was no anything coming back for Carrillo other than maybe his performance in the ring, which obviously would back it up. But you can't go have a champion who's not going to be good on the mic necessarily, or not going to even show you what he can be like in the mic before he holds the title. The guy needs to learn obviously in the mic, of course, as well as showing us in the ring what he's capable of. But I think we're all in agreement there that it's a speedy recovery, so he can get back to performing in that ring and hopefully getting his shot again, because it's one of these things, I think, in wrestling, you see guys get injured and then they sometimes get pushed to the wayside, and that's them. They end up being on this bloody big release list that we've seen in the past. I think there's guys we've seen that we're now thankfully getting to see on other shows, like Neville and stuff like that I think WWE have missed out upon, maybe not always due to injury, but this guy could end up on that list. He could be one of these guys that's getting released, and we might or might not get to see him again on any of these two shows. But I certainly hope he's back and he gets the chance he deserves. So we'll fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. But I think just as I said at the start of this, I don't know if you agree with it, but I think it kind of leaves Monsieur in that picture now. Unfortunately, he's not a bad wrestler. It's just it's a bit of a just thrown in there kind of thing. Carrillo at least has been about in the actual main Raw stuff for a while. I'm not meaning that in any way against Monsieur, because he can perform the ring. He's not too bad in the night, to be fair. Albeit he doesn't sound like he's from Saudi Arabia at all. But we'll see how that develops. We'll see if we maybe throw somebody else in there as an emergency replacement for that. But I don't know how they're going to do it, because we've seen things like this happen before WrestleMania, where a feud's just been wrecked on the way up to a main event. Fair enough, it's not exactly WrestleMania, it's WrestleMania Backlash. So I've got to look forward to that. Now going on to another match that's sort of just continued, and Creative have got worse and worse with their decisions. They broke up Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. We're getting to see them two face off in the ring. Now, what was your kind of your thoughts on that, Greg, with them breaking up? First of all, I know you've obviously weren't here the last time when they broke up. What was your kind of thoughts over the past couple of weeks of what you've seen transpire?
I think it's just getting worse for me as it's getting on. I think we spoke about before, the best groups that Rossland's had for ages. Do you know what I mean? It was working so well. Everybody was getting excited how far this could in months. And then splitting them up was bad enough. But now, I don't know, it's just never really went anywhere. For that, we said Alexander Benjamin, business split up, you knew, for me, I could see it coming that they two were going to split up. There was no way they were going to kind of stick together. I don't know, Benjamin a wee bit, I think. The win, but he's better than Alexander for me. I really like Cedric Alexander. I think he's got a lot to learn, but I just think they're really playing Ben. I just think he deserves better for this. I don't know where they're going to go now. Is that a single run for them? But it starts me to see that the Hurt business are together now for all MVP and like work really well together. The four of them more time, and I think for them they've just tried to kind of make stuff alone. It's not really worked out for me. The match, Alexander, as if he's turned into can even not really sure what's going on, and obviously Benjamin had picked up the win, but I don't know, I can't see, but it's just all kind of gutted the Hurt business on together.
I think we'd all agree on that, mate. To be honest, I think the creative decision making has just been horrendous. How they thought this was going to fix anything, I don't know. It's a true mystery. With the match itself, like you say, Greg, I genuinely think you're right with that. I think it was quite a solid match. It might help slightly soften the blow of they two breaking up, but the overall thing, I don't think it's going to help soften any sort of blow to what they've done. It was a relatively good tag team, out with the fact that they've broken away from the Hurt Business. But they've just confirmed that there's no going back now. There's no kind of conciliation between the group. Ryan, what was your kind of thoughts on the match? Did you quite enjoy the match itself? Is it something that you can take anything from positively?
John Benjamin won. Surely. I don't know, Buddy and John Benjamin. It's a fucking miracle. I thought it was a decent match. I mean, they just had two good athletes wrestle. That's really been well done. It was probably too short a match for our talent. It'd be like give them 5 minutes more. But I'd probably have an hour match at Backlash, just to build up picking up that pay-per-view. So hopefully they get an hour, maybe 15-20 minutes to prove again what both can do, because both men are talented enough, so I don't see why not.
Absolutely, but we've kind of touched upon it in previous weeks, but we think maybe this is the end for them. Do you see that being the case, Liam?
Do you know, I hope not. You know, both these guys, I think if you watch this match out of context, if you were watching this on a YouTube clip, you know, you would say, oh, that was a pretty decent match, two really solid performance, actually able to tell a story, good T-bone suplex finish. I actually quite liked it in isolation, but given the context, everything that we know about the Hurt Business, it just doesn't sit well in terms of storyline. Greg was saying about Cedric Alexander going off the rails. If you actually found these two guys in a back alley smoking crack cocaine, you wouldn't be surprised. You would think, no wonder, look what you've done to him. You know, it's no wonder that there's so many guys who give up wrestling and then end up absolutely bewildered, you know, and abusing substances to try and make sense of how mucked up their life become. So I hope that they manage to pull something out the bag for both of these, because individually they're great. Together they were all unbelievable. I don't know how they're going to be able to compensate any of these two performers professionally for what they've done by breaking up the Hurt Business. Absolutely insane decision.
That is definitely. Greg, what are you kind of thinking, mate? Are you hoping that maybe if it has to be one of them that goes, do you want to see them maybe going into different shows, or do you think you'd maybe like to see them continue a feud and then potentially, I don't know, is it worth the risk, maybe try to build upon them to having a feud, or is it going to do one worse than good, basically, if they're going to take a loss?
Yeah, I think the way they're going, I think as Ryan was saying, maybe have one final match just to confirm that's the be on end all. Kind of finish. I don't know. I'd probably do Alexander, because I think he's still, as the guys were saying, he's very talented. He can definitely go in some sort of title run. If they were having that kind of final match, it would give them the brilliant throughout his career. I don't think it would hurt him. If that was the case, Benjamin SmackDown and maybe have a chance at the Intercontinental title, maybe facing people like Big E and Apollo Crews, and maybe having a feud like that. I think that would be again a good move to take. So that would they would be just probably go get another run at it. And so hopefully maybe that's the push. I would love to see Benjamin actually on SmackDown, just with the kind of opponents that he could face. I think it would be really exciting.
Aye, I'd agree. It's kind of one of these, I think Michael pointed it out in recent chats that we've had on this. That you know, Shelton Benjamin he's an experienced wrestler, and it's along the lines of Jeff Hardy. Maybe I know Jeff Hardy's probably achieved a lot more in terms of things, but the guy still deserves the respect to how far he's came, how experienced he is as well. Personally, I don't think it's something that would happen a championship on him, but I would like to see him try and go head to head with maybe MVP or Bobby Lashley or something, some sort of feud there. If they're going to separate them in that way, at least make them feud properly. You know, don't just literally detach them and then just go, all right, you've just forgot about it like nothing's happened. So I would personally like to see something like that happen. But I mean, he deserves it, but I think he's more safe than Cedric, certainly. Although Cedric's probably, one of these guys that's up and comers, and he's quite athletically pleasing to watch when you see him kind of flying about the ring. And let's face it, I think we can all agree in this present day, the guy can sell the best when it comes to taking some kicks to the head, certainly. I think he wins that championship right there, if it was a championship. But unfortunately, they don't get handed out for that.
I like that saying, Lewis. I'll use that myself. Athletically pleasing to watch.
That's it.
That's the trainer every king.
That's it. Chickens doing backflips. That's it. That's what I'm going to think the next time we go to Abbey Films. We're looking at it going, that chick's flipping. But we'll move on to another segment that's going to continue, and I'm quite pleased that it's happened. That basically last week we seen Drew Gulak and Angel Garza, another nice fresh match that we all got to enjoy, and I'm glad that they've continued it and they've not just stomped it out where it stood. Him obviously wrapping up at Rose up his arse wasn't exactly the most creative thing, but let's face it was something different. Where do you see this kind of feud going, Liam? Do you think it's something that's going to build to something? Are you quite enjoying watching it yourself?
I think this is get a bit of longevity in it. I'm quite enjoying this. I'm glad that they get the chance to follow up from last week, and I think they did enough to tease us and make us interested about what might happen. They didn't saturate anything, it wasn't too in your face. It wasn't too much exposure. It was just enough, I think, to keep us going. Please don't ruin it, by letting it become repetitive and boring and stale. Give them a bit of momentum, and then let the two guys then diversify and meet some other people. But if this ends up like Priest and Morrison and Miz, I fear for the two guys, because there's something here that's I think legitimately quite interesting.
I would agree. I think it's something different, somebody new, and we've seen obviously Gulak. He was kind of added in weird circumstances where he was Daniel Bryan's. I don't know what I call him. It's as if he's trainer, or he's I don't know why he's guru. It's like Daniel Bryan. I've genuinely not looked at the age thing or anything about Gulak outside of WWE, but I think it's safe to say Daniel Bryan probably is older and probably more experienced. So God knows what they went with that storyline. I think me and Greg touched upon this in the early days of the podcast, but I think it's quite an odd way that they did that, and it ruined that for him a bit. I think his push could have been better, maybe just feuding with Daniel Bryan without him. If they turned it into him treading on his toes, trying to tell him this is how to wrestle, even though Daniel Bryan knows how to bloody wrestle, that would have been better than what they did. That was an aimless feud kind of thing they went on with that feud. But certainly the two work together backstage in the segments, and we've seen it again this week with Garza having a wee photo shoot with Rose again, trying to kind of threaten him with it again. Greg, who would you want to see winning the next feud if this continues on to be something big?
I would like to see Garza. I really like Angel Garza. I think I'd quite like to see him get a push, like maybe going for a United States Championship, the WWE Champion. I think the both of them are really, really talented. I mean, what Drew Gulak can do as well. He's a bit of a machine. That he's kind of on the floor and stuff is brilliant to watch. I loved as well when he was with Andrade in Selena Vega. I thought that connection brilliant. So it was it really, really worked well. If I would like to see the feud go a wee bit and then Garza come top and then going, because I think he's great at really doing promos, but his in-ring ability he's great. So he's really so I'd like to see him get a push.
I would agree. I think it'd be nice to see him being utilised in the way that he can be, because he has a good heel. That's something you can say about him. He's certainly never going to be a babyface in any way, shape or form. But Gulak, in the same sense, I think they've obviously made him more babyface these days, which obviously he's been more of a heel. previous experiences watching them, but for what you know of him, Liam, is it something you're going to look for down the line? Is it something that you're going to want to watch, or is it just a case of you might skip by it? It's not really gathering much interest for you.
No, I think it's at the beginning. It's obviously quite embryonic, but no, I'm looking forward to this. Actually, you make anything new and different on Raw, and I'll invest in it. Anything that's not what I've already seen for the past couple of months, I promise I'll be invested in it. I'll watch it. I won't fast forward it. Honestly, Vince, believe me.
I just replying to Ryan there, see if we get him back on. He's lost a wee bit of connectivity, so hopefully get him back on. But we'll move on from that kind of slight segment backstage. It's not really never developed into a match, unfortunately, but obviously I think they're leaving this one to maybe build for perhaps after Backlash. Maybe they've left this one too late and they've realised they've struck gold with a feud for once. We'll move on, and it's Asuka versus Rhea. Charlotte came out to watch the match, of course, which we know she was always going to get involved. What did you make of the start of that match, Liam, or the match in itself? Were you quite impressed? That's what I was trying to say. With the technical ability of both wrestlers, and do you think they showed enough in the ring, or was it more of the same that we've just been seeing week in, week out?
I actually really like the two of these, competitors. Love Asuka, love Ripley. What's the point in a Charlotte player being there? I didn't really understand what value that added. Have her there, but do something meaningful with her. For me, this is just like they wrote out the script for McIntyre, Lashley, and adding in then Braun Strowman, and then they just copied, cut and paste, but with these three lasses' names in it. It's not really that much different. You're heading into a pay-per-view and you're doing the same thing with 6 main event superstars. I don't think they've earned the right to be called creative anymore. I think we need to come up with a new name for what they are. But there's nothing innovative happening here, except when you see people like Asuka in the ring. There, she can be creative. There, she can tell her own story. And actually, Rhea Ripley's been phenomenal for me. One of the best things on Raw, certainly for me to watch. And she's fascinating. I don't think I've ever seen Asuka do the same things in the ring. She bamboozles me sometimes. I find her fascinating, really, really unpredictable. You don't really know what she's doing. And because she's so quick and her pace, the match is so fast that actually there's so much that I'm missing anyway with what's going on. I think I could see the same match twice and not recognise it. I absolutely adore her. I'm glad, that she's got a place, certainly near the top of the table here in the women's division. And I think I could watch these two go at it in the ring, but do something sensible, to create an aura around about it. Really didn't think this was getting the best out either of the three of them this week.
No, I'd agree. What was your kind of thoughts, Greg, yourself? Obviously, the two probably agree with this one now. I think on Raw anyway, it's two of the best women workers on the show for sure, on the roster. Charlotte didn't really add much. I know you're quite a big fan, Greg, but I don't know if you disagree with like Liam. I don't know if you would agree or disagree with her being added. Do you think it's adding anything to the match, or do you think that they could have just been left to do it themselves between the two of them?
For me, if I WrestleMania, I thought Asuka and Ripley was a real match. I think in terms of storytelling, the chemistry, Asuka and Ripley's not quite there. I don't know. There seems to be something very talented stars and stuff like that, but the chemistry between the two of them is no. I think the only thing I would say that maybe worked with Charlotte being there is I thought the key match happened when Charlotte kind of interfered. I think Charlotte interfered and then Asuka did like a hip attack. Yeah, Ripley off the table. Aye. So there was wee moments I thought that's Charlotte maybe for a second to create some moves, but I think the thing about Charlotte, I think it's just going to push Rip further, adding somebody like Flair, do you know what I mean, how she's been. I think it's only going to Ripley. We all know how good Asuka is, but it was good, but I don't know what to say about the kind of Asuka and Ripley. I don't know, I think there's just something for me that's just actual in-ring ability, but the kind of story behind it a wee bit, I don't know.
It's quite interesting for me. I think the one thing I would maybe call them out on is the way they tried to turn Rhea Ripley heel a bit prematurely. For my liking, I think the fans were all behind her. It was the wrong decision to just throw her into being a heel. And even then, at that, it wasn't in a style of a Stone Cold way, you know, the way that you can be a likeable heel. It was just a random throwout that they just wanted everybody to just hate on her because she's turned on Asuka, or she's turned on, you know, whoever basically that she's teaming with. And it's the fact that it didn't work. It didn't work there, and they just went, "Oh, right, we'll just leave it." And they've not addressed it in any way, shape, or form to try and go, right, we're going to reinforce this now to prove that back then when we tried to make this decision of her going heel, that she's now going forward a heel. She's still the same. I would personally like to see the female version of Stone Cold where she goes out and she doesn't trust anybody and she will just, you know, take anybody out in her path because she's capable of it. She's got the attitude for it. She's fantastic on the mic. She's got every attribute to be one of the best women wrestlers of this era, certainly, especially with the likes of the Man out of action right now. And she was also one of those ones that was kind of quite Stone Cold like. Obviously, the t-shirts and everything, and her attitude herself, with Becky Lynch proved that, of course. But you need somebody else to step in the light now until she maybe makes her return. But I would like to see that opposed to the way they've went with this. There's no real clear kind of heel between the two of them. But obviously, throwing Charlotte in there throws a heel because let's face it, Charlotte's 9 times out of 10 a heel. She's never going to be a babyface, and I don't know who she's going to have to come across to become a babyface, but it's going to have to be somebody real bad, to be honest, to pull that one off. What's your kind of thoughts yourself, Ryan, for what you've seen with the match between the two of them? Do you think it needed Charlotte?
She was probably just because the title fight a backlash, really. It's just that was just why she was there. But I'll make a wee point. I know this match was probably announced like a couple weeks ago or last week, when it was announced. But did it not show how dense the women's division is in Raw if you've got Asuka wrestling twice?
That's a shout. I didn't think of that there, to be honest with you.
It shows how little their talent pool is. To have, I mean, he's more than capable of wrestling twice. He's good enough to wrestle twice, but there's room for other women to appear and make a name for herself, while still have fought with Rhea and put on a decent match. So it's just I thought that was kind of odd.
No, you're right, Ryan. It doesn't make sense to release somebody like Mickey James who could have brought a good match out of Rhea Ripley, and then have Asuka, you know, fight twice. It just seems mental. It's not like they don't have talent. They've got a much better women's division than Impact or AEW, who have got some amazing individual female wrestlers, but nowhere near the pool that they have on at WWE. So to release people who are actually competent in-ring performers and then absolutely rip it just because Asuka's quite good, you know, it doesn't make sense.
It's just I mean, but they had they released Peyton Royce, they released Billie Kay, they released Chelsea Green, and released Mickey James. So
they're quite right on the first two. Quite right.
They should have been released. Fucking arseholes, honestly. How dare you release Billie Kay? Come on, Greg, big yourself.
I could just imagine Greg, if he was in charge of the WWE Network content, having his table of three, and it would be Billie Kay, Sami Zayn, and some other annoying cunt.
Perfect.
Your defence, just perfect.
Right, so
Love Sammy's hero. So yeah.
one thing is, Greg, when's he going to show us this clip? Because I thought we already seen the clip, but it seems to be, you know, you're in cahoots with him, I know, so you're probably back and forth with him on Twitter. You're going to tell us when we're going to get to see this video, the conspiracy theories.
Seems to be dragging out. He keeps hinting that it's going to be soon. Like so, and then you see his promos on Smack stuff, and then it seems to change and stuff again. I don't know if he's just trying to make it go on for a time and forever. Do you know what I mean? That he's just got a conspiracy. Hopefully soon, man. And you need something soon.
Absolutely.
Here's a conspiracy for you then, Greg. Have you ever seen Michael and Sami Zayn in the same place at the same time? Nope. Just saying.
Do them together, man. You would just laugh, wouldn't you?
Could you see them together, but I think it's one of the Clark Kent Superman jobs, Greg.
Well, Mike, too. Both cool. Can't argue with that.
What a guy. So we'll move on. Main event time. Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre. We didn't really see a great deal what we haven't seen the past maybe, I don't know, you'll be able to correct me, but I think over a month of Raw anyway, where it's just been the guys dominating the show start to finish. But it was a very good start to the match. They were both quite strong, showcasing their strengths. But what did you make of the match overall, Liam? Do you agree with the finish, the way they decided to finish that match?
I don't know what else they could have done that wouldn't have further undermined, you know, WrestleMania Backlash that they've already undermined for the last couple of weeks. I think it was probably the right thing to do, given how they opened. I think they were going to try and give the red herring with MVP getting in to speak to Strowman. Anybody who's watched Strowman for the past couple of years knows he's not going to be swayed by that. And actually, I don't know why they let MVP talk to anybody. Nobody has ever pulled, you know, but the tricks he tries to pull, it's never a stick on. They've never even thrown in a surprise that somebody listened to him and did what he asked. So it's mental to me, you know, that they used that as an opener, as if we thought that Strowman would have done anything other than be his own man. He's not going to be swayed by anybody. Big guy's a monster. He's feared to nobody, and he's certainly not going to be tricked into taking out McIntyre and giving Lashley a free run. Actually, quite liked how they still made both of these guys look strong though when they were fighting before Strowman came in. Quite liked it. McIntyre wasn't going to be intimidated, you know, by the hurt lock. But they still gave Lashley a pretty solid headlock on him that he struggled to get out of. So nobody was harmed in the making of this fight, and the pay-per-view is still pretty much well intact. Looking forward to it though. This is again, I've probably said this a few times just now. It doesn't really matter how much they fuck up the run up to this. I'm excited about this. I can't wait to see it. I think Lashley's been phenomenal, huge big powerhouse. Strowman's finally, you know, getting some sort of main event opportunity at a pay-per-view that's decent, and McIntyre's an absolute beast. So obviously I'm hoping this leads to a McIntyre win, and then ultimately Jinder going for the title off of him. You know, it makes sense. And he's listening out there. That's what I'd like to see.
What about yourself, Ryan? I agree with what Liam says there, to be fair. I think that's a good shout. We've kind of touched upon the Jinder and his friendship with Drew. Do you see it going this way? Do you think there's a wee span on the works? So you want to throw a wee span on the works?
Aye. No. Don't hinder the gender. What? It's fate. That's why he's back. I mean, Drew's got to win at Backlash. But Mahal will get another couple of wins. Then boom, next pay-per-view, the Ginger and Drew. That's what you want.
There you go. That's it. It is, mate. What do you think, Greg? Are you along the same lines? Are we all in agreement here? Or are we... Anybody want to upset the conversation here and throw something else out there?
Well, I do agree that hopefully that is going to be the outcome, but I think still to be, if you're outside, deserves to be the champion for me. Well, he deserves to go on a long run, and I know hopefully he wins, but I think if you were looking at it from a kind of neutral point of view, Ashley, I think it'd be quite gutted to, especially obviously everything with the Hurt business now, how well he's actually done at WrestleMania and stuff like that. The best, but we hope he does. And it's just great to see because he deserves it. Powerhouse, he shouldn't be a story like Jim McMahon getting bullied and shown a report card. Do you know what I mean? It's just good to see him actually in with two competitors. It's going to just be an absolute war.
I will absolutely die off though with absolute joy and pleasure if somehow Daniel Bryan gets inserted into this match at Backlash and wins the title.
Anything is possible. Anything is possible. Let's face it, it's Raw. They're not going to make that decision, are they? Not a chance. SmackDown, maybe. That's it. Genuinely. Oh, there we go. We've got a wee shout out here, Michael.
Monster among trains.
That's it. It's a new merch for WWE.com from the Tank Engine.
Again, I'm going to grass Michael up. He was absolutely obsessed with Thomas the Tank Engine when he was away. He did every single engine and get the face off his mum and dad to buy him the war week after week after week. And now, he's a big hard man on a podcast. Absolute bullshit.
Oh, unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Now, obviously, we're all big Drew fans. But I've got... it's a weird time to do it, to be fair. But again, going the way Raw Creative like to go, it wouldn't surprise me to see Braun Strowman walk out champion if it was up to Raw. Overall, you never know. It could maybe be, if there's an overall decision, SmackDown's got a wee shout in it or something, we're going to see our man Drew take it. Hopefully he does. But to be honest, if he didn't do it, I would like to see another feud. Personally, I would like to see Drew face Edge. I don't know if you guys would agree with that one or not, or if you have got anybody else in mind, if the worst case scenario happens here and Drew's out of the picture.
I would love to see that, Lewis. I think it makes sense, and I also think it adds another big win to Drew's CV. You know, Randy Orton and Edge. You know, he's building up. I think, and maybe compensating him for the years that he missed out when he was having to retour in the Indies and spend time in NXT. I think it would be great for him, you know, to spend some time with not just legends, but legends with credibility who have a reasonable chance of beating him. And I think they did that really well with Randy Orton. So, yeah, I would love it if you got a feud with Edge. That's much more box office to me than him and Jinder. Although I would still like to see that.
Absolutely. You never know. It might be, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm calling it too early for something like that. But certainly, we've got SummerSlam, which is always a massive event, of course, compared to other than maybe your Royal Rumbles and your WrestleManias. But let's face it, SummerSlam's always the next big thing, probably coming after WrestleMania. Backlash is just a stepping stone on the way there. What about yourself, Ryan? Have you anything in mind that you would maybe like if the worst case scenario was to happen?
Just by staying in Raw. Keith Lee started looking back.
That's true, aye. Yeah, they've had previous.
Build up kind of Keith Lee again to show how dominant he is. Maybe be feud with Drew would be like something good for his career. And again, it gives somebody fresh for Drew to face off against. But if he did go and face Edge, I'd take that in a heartbeat. It's a dream match for me, really. I think it'd be well. I know Drew's kind of spoke about him as seeing him as one of his heroes as well. So to face your hero, it's just for any day. It's a big kind of fair in his cap. So I'd take that in a heartbeat.
So shout out about yourself, Greg. Have you anybody in mind other than Shotzi Blackheart?
She would take day of the week. Put a ladder on a table, be able to walk.
You need a big ass tank, mate. A big ass tank.
I think we all know she's more likely to fucking injure herself off a table, man. Try a Hurricane Rana and end up Claymore.
She was on, it was funny, she was on. Tell you, she's going to be up there one day. She was on that WWE there, and she says sometimes like it's applies to go as extreme as possible. Have fun at it. She's just like crazy even when she's just talking. She's like, oh, these moves, and if it works, doesn't it? And that's crazy.
You say she's up there. I fucking shite myself every time she's up there. It's a coming back down, it worries me.
So who do you call, Greg? Who are you calling it? You get a newbie, or you get anybody you just personally like to see him face?
I would love to see him face Roman Reigns, actually, at a big pay-per-view. I know they had kind of one match. It was like the champ, but I would love him a big pay-per-view. I'd love to see him go at it. I just think... What's the expression of it here? Aye, mate. Drew McIntyre, Roman.
Somebody put me in a GTS.
Would you just not like to see that? No, I think Drew.
I think it'd be interesting.
Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns would absolutely be brilliant. It would just,
as long as Drew works on top.
Definitely, aye.
To be fair, Roman is kind of grown on me.
Oh, of course. I know, definitely for him.
Aye, so we'll see how that goes. It's got some interesting potential paths that he could lead off from this event at Backlash. So fingers crossed. Michael says he's with you, Greg, on this one.
Yes, Michael. Well done, Michael.
I know I keep disappearing, but I'd just like to point out this is the third mouth during this podcast. The fucker of a cat is brought in, and it's now hanging off my finger with its teeth. So it might be about 13 seconds, 15 seconds before I'm back.
Turns out, ladies and gentlemen, Michael has been replaced by a mouse.
That's nearly
I'm only joking, mate. That's
Is your name?
You say that while he's off screen, see that?
Smart man.
That's got to be a first for a podcast.
I'm saying to his back.
Unreal. That is unreal. I've never witnessed anything like that in my life.
Sorry, lads. I'm out with an injury.
Oh my god, that was
the same size as you.
I'm in too much pain to answer you back, pal. Hey, I saved a life today. What did you do?
Right.
Just as well I do that every day then.
Aye, you put the lives in danger first before you save them, man. Rescuing innocent lives. Three of them. Anyway, the cat clap's shut. She can interrupt me no more.
There he goes. There you learn the count now.
Oh, aye, right enough. According to your maths, that's what, 165 mice, I say.
So we'll swiftly move on from that absolute epic moment there, but painful moment for Liam. This is going to be a highlight, honestly. It's going to be a highlight thrown back. We'll look at this back at this in a year's time. It's one of the highlights of the podcast. Certainly.
You can share the link to the country file.
Oh my god! Honestly, I can't get over that. Honestly, if I actually caught it, no, it's amazing. So we'll move on. Next show, NXT. What a start with Karrion Kross coming out to face none other than Austin Theory, Johnny Gargano with him. Both of them looking cocky as hell until his music hits and their facial expressions change completely. So overall, Greg, what was your kind of thoughts in the match itself? Are you kind of investing in it?
Aye, definitely. I'm just gutted that a show that Shotzi Blackheart wasn't even involved for 1 second to begin with. That's just honestly not even right, but fun for that. But no, the match itself was really, really good. I thought Austin Theory actually held his own. To be fair, I thought he was good. Him and Gargano are absolutely brilliant together. I think the two of them really work well. And that kind of actually could hold his own against the light kind of Cross for us. I think he had a DDT him outside the ring and stuff like that, so you could see Theory kind of push on, but Cross is just an absolute animal. So he's just some of the stuff he pulls out, just the sheer strength is really incredible. He's a champion, so he is as well. He's just going to go into a kind of long title run, I think. But no, I think it only did Austin Theory some favours as well to kind of keep pushing big matches, but it's the show.
Absolutely. It's certainly it got him in the ring with a big guy anyway, but he was certainly flung about quite a bit in that match, to say the least, which you'd expect, to be fair. So, I mean, the way that we've seen that epic face-off last week was, you just couldn't have topped it. You really couldn't have. And you just know, I think, from the get-go with this one, I think you knew it was going to be more or less a squash match. I don't think we ever thought for a second that Austin Theory was going to come away with the victory. Unless it was some sort of sneaky way, but either then, that'd be a wrong decision on NXT's part, which, let's face it, they're not Raw, so they're not going to do that. They're going to be smart about their decision making. So, I mean, really all it took was a pair of Seattle suplexes for him to finish him off. That was him done. Cross jacket, that was it over. So, was that enough, Ryan, for you? Do you think that was a strong enough performance for Cross to continue on the strong path that he's going?
It was probably a perfect match for both guys. But it showed that how dominant Cross can be, but then Theory still had his elements. I mean, there's no way he was winning. You cannot be honest with that. But I thought it was just the perfect match for both guys. And then Baylor appearing at the end. Just I didn't kind of expect that. That was very smart to get his rematch. Which again, that match would be phenomenal. If it's in like the one that's standing taller, then for a decent show.
Totally agree. I mean, what's your kind of hopes for this one, Liam? Are you quite happy that it's going to be him versus Balor, or would you have liked to have seen any of the other guys that obviously were putting their names in the hat?
No, I think especially after a match like that was a squash. I disagree with Greg and Ryan on one element that I don't really think the Theory was given enough of a platform to shine here. We all knew that the Cross was going to win, but I thought they could have made it at least look plausible, that he had a chance. I think Austin Theory's got an awful lot more in him than he was able to show here, and I would have quite I like to have seen that. It was quite a dramatic squash. Setting up for Baylor makes sense. At least he's a credible opponent. There's believability there. He can lose the title to Baylor. And actually, the way they set up so many things after this match, it was like being machine gunned with the amount of information we were then getting, and none of it bad. Quite a lot of good setups. And actually thought they did really, really well to keep you interested in what might be happening in the short and long term with some of these feuds.
I couldn't agree more, to be honest with you. It's probably one of the ones that you'd probably say would be more epic out of certain ones. I mean, every opponent that stepped into the ring that wanted to put their name in the hat certainly would have been a good match, of course. Theory, obviously, if he was trying to put his name in the hat, I don't think it's not the same effect. But only because the way they're playing him now, the comedic effect, I think. Of course, you can't really make them a really serious opponent for a contender, basically, for a belt. If you think that you're going to be able to do both of them, you're absolutely crazy. So he was never going to have a chance at that at all. But I quite like the match in a sense where Cross is getting this dominant run, and it's going to build up to a point where I think it's going to be who can stop him. I think, and it seems to be it's like a Jericho list. He's just going to keep adding until he comes across a match. And at the minute, although there's some absolutely amazing performers in that NXT roster, I don't see anybody taking that belt off him just yet. I think he's going to go on quite a long run here. What's your kind of thoughts, Greg, yourself? Are you thinking Balor's got it in him to take it off him?
I definitely think he has. It's now been has set up for Cross run, but it's far picture at the rematch. NXT, I love watching him. I think he really puts on as well. I think it'll be close. I think it'll really go all the way, but I think Cross will just have. But it'll be great again in just such a high state match like O'Reilly. You hope after Cross, Balor's still going to be kind of level. I think we maybe spoke before we faced in a match or just something going to have an epic. Balor's that good, and they actually need a belt to be relevant, which is so. It's only going to look good for the both of them, really.
Absolutely, it's NXT's kind of almost, you would say, like a WrestleMania-esque type main event. They're capable of building up something. Carrying Cross's entrance is just phenomenal every time he comes in, and then the potential of Balor going Demon Balor against him, if he brings that back for this match, then potentially puts him a wee bit more in favour of maybe taking the belt off him and just creating a back and forth feud, which again I think most of us would welcome. But I think after this match we've seen it was announced, quite a lot of announcements like Liam says. I think there's Gargano's already been touted for next week to face none other than Bronson Reed for his championship after he attacked him in the locker room. Of course, we didn't get to see that, but I think that's probably because it would have been like a fly getting squatted if Reed was genuinely to react, because let's face it, that's what would happen. So he got attacked, obviously, in his locker room. It was kind of off camera. Gargano had a few funny scenes throughout the show, a few funny segments where he was going in and I think shouting at Regal, and Regal looked like he was genuinely going to knock the shit out of him. And then he decided just to snap his pencil. So I think that's a wee feud we're going to get to look forward to, maybe. Nah, I doubt it. genuinely would love to see Rigo just poke him in the eye or something. I think that'd be brilliant. That'd be enough for me. But what do you think of that match that's for next week? Do you see a title change? Do you think is it time for him to drop that title and Bronson to go running with?
I'm predicting Tsunami off the top of the cage for a Reed win. That's my prediction.
I'll be yourself, Liam.
I don't know. I predict the same outcome. I don't know if that's how they're going to secure it. Actually, don't mind who wins this. I really don't. I quite like both guys for totally different reasons. And anyway, to wedge more Regal into the show suits me.
Absolutely. Aye. Can't beat him. You cannot beat him. He's a legend, definitely. Greg, what about yourself, mate? Have you got a wee prediction here for us?
I think Gargano's going to retain. I think Reed's getting there, but for me, he's just not quite ready. I think he'll push Gargano all the way. I think Gargano might just take it. I think.
That's a shout. Well, I'm going to Reed. I'm backing the man Reed for this one. I personally think he's going to take it and he's going to go running with it. I think there's a potential for the way to now feud with another faction now, since we're starting to see more factions popping up on NXT, which seems to be a thing now. And I would more than welcome that. To be honest with you, I think that would be absolutely fantastic to see the new faction with Swerve and the way. I mean, considering the comedy factor alone, with the way, I think you'd not knowing what Swerve's faction's capable of, I think that's enough to maybe convince you to go, right, I'll get a watch. Michael's had it with Gargano and Regal have such great chemistry. Tag team, who knows? You never know. Well, it's interesting. We'll see what happens after that next week's show. We'll see who's right, who's wrong, and hopefully it's something more entertaining than Raw. Let's face it, it's going to be. So we'll move on to my men, MSK, who face Breezango. This match was epic, funny, action-packed, you name it. We all know, obviously, what I'm going to point out here, and it's that ref moment. What was that? That was, I'm like, lost for words. It was hilarious, it was funny, it was certainly not the referee I would ever expect to do something like that, though.
Fair play to the ref for being able to do something like that. That was honestly, I mean.
So, Greg, can you
go? No, sorry, I'm doing that again. Referee, his agility, that was brilliant. I think a wee bit before that as well, ducking that caused Breezango to bang into each other as well. I thought that whole wee segment in the match was just hilarious. It was absolutely phenomenal. 3-man, that's quality going there. Future wrestler, maybe somebody could take on Drew McIntyre, you never know.
Oh god.
William's expression, fucking amazing.
Love it. I love the hot takes in this one. Love it in this show. Oh, we're brilliant. We're brilliant. The stuff we hit it with always. Aye, so I think I know it was a very, very interesting match as per usual. MSK just pulling it out of the bag with the high flying, but at the same time, Breezango showing their experience in the ring, which was good. At the same time, it didn't hurt them taking the loss, of course, the mutual respect. But at the same time, it looked like there was a wee bit of a disagreement on who kind of why they took the loss and who's to blame. So potentially we're going to see these two separate into singles competitors, or again, it could be one of these things. Maybe they're just thinking about hanging up the books. I don't know. Oh, Ryan didn't like that one.
just don't go to the Raw, please. Just don't break up tag teams.
No, but who knows? You never know, mate. It might be the way. You might have to accept it, mate. But what do you think? I mean, I personally loved that. See that Carter moonsault? I thought that was fantastic. onto the outside of the ring. I thought that was fantastic. It's one of these ones we talk about Street Profits and the frog splash. It's one of these moves you can see over and over again, and it's the fact that they can pull it off over and over again as well. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. And I'm just going to say to you before we come to it, right? They do have competition, but they're retaining, right? So I don't care what any of you say, right? Just going to let you know. You can say what you want, but I'm not changing my mind. We'll go away. Greg, you can start, mate. And then we'll go to Liam and Ryan. What's your predictions and who's going to take the titles from them, if anybody?
The MSK are fantastic, man. You know what I mean? You just would want it. You let him to take titles for them. But you like to see that they'll be going a long run. Currently, who maybe you never know. I would love to see. I know that they say they were going each other's way, but Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, I think they would like to see back together and have another wee title run.
That's a shout. What about yourself, Liam?
Nobody called Bobby Fish should ever carry a title on any promotion ever, and that's a fact. People have reasonable names, and then are in agreement with promoters who know better to come up with brilliant names for them. Fucking Bobby Fish. Don't care how good he is in the ring. That can fuck off. I don't know if anybody right now is a credible challenger to MSK. I think you would have to create a new tag team out of, two singles competitors, I think, and really give them a push. Because right now I can't see anybody taking anything off them. And I don't even know unless you were going to move them up with the main roster. And let's be honest, what could be doing with a decent tag team like that? You don't really want anybody to take, the belts off them, because for a lot of people, that's probably the main reason that they watch NXT. So I'm unsure at the minute, who could credibly take them off and take it off them and that still be watchable.
Oh, I do. Personally, it would have to be my boy Ciampa and his wee mad pal Fadger. I can't see it happening anytime soon, but in the future, I'd love to see Ciampa and Fadger just have a wee run. Even if they take it off and then lose maybe 2 weeks later, I'd be happy.
That's a shout. Do none of you think that Legado del Fantasma have got a chance of taking it back? Or do you think that's them done?
Done.
Fair play. That's fair play. They do have competition, but I'm still back, my man. So I'm not changing my mind. Like I say, MSK all the way. I think it's going to be interesting. But I like you guys touch upon. It's a bit early to start bumping them up into another roster. They're definitely one of the spectacles when it comes to tag teams, and I hope that we've got another way to see them. Hopefully they roll round to doing touring again, and hopefully we get to see them live in action. I think that'd be something that'd be quite interesting to go and see. Certainly a team like that live would be fantastic to watch. We move on to Pete Dunne. He wanted a match against anybody in the locker room since he called out Karrion Kross, calling him a coward. We know in the end, Leon Ruff, the guy who was demanding a match, and even though he was cleared, Regal's like, no, you're not getting a match. It's not happening. Of course, he comes out and tries to do his best against him. Nothing other than a squash match. What do you think this does for him, Liam?
I thought it was brutal. You know, I have a soft spot for Dunne because he looks like the first lassie I get halfway in Govan. So I'll watch anything just for nostalgia's sake. He's involved in. But absolutely horrific. Triangle choke was pretty rough. Totally understood why the ref stopped it. And then the broken fingers was just the exclamation point on a match that really kind of left me thinking, well, which I've been said for a long time, but no, that's not, you know. It was just horrible, and I also watched it a few times.
What about yourself, Ryan? What did you make of the match? Obviously, it does done more favours than it does with Leon.
I thought Pete Dunne is just class in the ring. You just somebody I can watch wrestle like any day of the week. Personally, after the crosses done with Baylor, I think Pete Dunne has to be next. I mean, it'll give him a credible challenge at least, anyway.
Totally agree. But it seems to be that obviously Kelly O'Reilly's going to have something on his hands beforehand anyway, so that appears more likely anyway for now. Greg, what do you see happening here? Obviously, it was quite an interesting shout that it wasn't actually Swerve that took him out of action. It was left to Pete Dunne to take him out of action. That was no personal thing. It was just a case of he's given out to meet him in the ring, and it was just the wrong place at the wrong time.
Basically, I think like, I'm quite impressed with him enough. I think he's a wee guy and stuff like that, but throwing him in there with somebody like people, he's going to get annihilated and stuff like that. But potentially he's got, do you know what I mean? He was a North American Championship champion for a wee spell. Is the match? It was actually started okay. I liked how he gets something out of it because he's definitely does that. I mean, see the wee movie does where he jumps on the rope. But I find that I could watch that. That's his agility. But I agree with Ryan. I think for people, I think he's next in line just to build him up like that and just kind of bruise a bit in the brutality that he comes out with and stuff like that. Him would just be a fantastic match, I think.
Certainly would be, because he's obviously quite a technical wrestler. Most people probably look at him, if they don't know him, they'll look at him and just go, well, Karrion Kross is going to squish him. But at the end of the day, with his kind of William Regal like moves, because that's what he totally reminds me of. He just reminds me of the way that his grappling moves. It's just hard knocking brawler. That's just exactly the way to describe him. And sometimes that's what it can take to knock a big man down like that. So it's not like he's going to not be a credible opponent for him. I think he will be. And I think that's something that I will look forward to after Balor, to be honest. But then at the same time, we know that Balor and Pete Dunne have had previous as well. So if Balor was to take the title, that would also be equally a nice wee kind of feud to go on if he was to drop the title, since they two have had previous. And I think it's something that they would definitely want to build upon again before maybe moving either of them up the way. So fingers crossed, we'll see. Leon Ruff certainly not crossing any fingers anytime soon. But we'll see how that one develops. But I certainly thought it was an interesting call to have Pete Dunne take him out of action, unless he's going to be one of these ones he's going to take them up and fight. I don't know, because he seems to be that wee kind of type of guy who just fights with his heart, doesn't he? So he'll probably come out with broken arms next and still try and wrestle. Who knows? But we'll move on to Women's Championship match. Raquel Gonzalez versus Mercedes Martinez. What do you really make of that match? Did it live up to the hype that it could have had, or what do you make it? Anyone else can jump in with this one.
What I did like about this was that, and this was the team for this NXT, that there were some genuine challengers, fighting champions, or people at least, that you were invested in the matches, might not have played out like that. Certainly didn't for Austin Theory, who I love. But I thought this could have been executed better. I still enjoyed it. There was still some really good moves. Gonzalez dead powerful, and on its own, I thought it was an okay match. But I think at the end, I was more thinking about what it could have been rather than what I just watched. It was decent, but it was underwhelming. And I think when you look at what Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker were able to pull off, I was hoping these two would match that.
Aye, absolutely. I think it was quite underwhelming in my opinion. I thought it was quite poor. They don't seem to have a great deal of chemistry the way they two did, Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa seemed to just hit it off chemistry wise. Obviously, some wrestlers that is just a simple fact of the wrestling world. It doesn't happen. But for me, I don't think it was the greatest of feuds, and I hope it's something that they maybe don't continue on. I don't know what the likes of you two guys will throw this one at you, Ryan. Is it something you want to see going forward, or do you want to see something fresh?
I think this was basically just to give Raquel a decent maybe veteran challenger. It's their first proper title defense, so gear somebody that's decent in the ring, they can work. But I was the same as you, Lewis. I found it very, very flat. It's just something just didn't feel right. I don't know what it was about the match, but it just didn't click for me. Just going on who should be next? Maybe Sarai, because she's kind of building momentum, or even Zoe Stark. I know she's kind of feuding with Tony Storm now, but I mean, you could clear her next week and then move on to Gonzalez, because I think that'd be a really good technical match to watch as well.
Aye, I'd agree. I'd like to see any one of them. What about yourself, Greg? I think the kind of the promos probably were more strong than the actual match itself. Probably, I think the way they built up the kind of the interview things. I think the way that they set it up. You know, I'm the bar, you're down here, sort of thing. I think that was quite an interesting way they put it, but it just didn't live up to the hype. Unfortunately, it's maybe not either of their faults. It's just maybe it wasn't really the match we were all kind of hoping for.
I was quite disappointed, as you were saying there. I think it was a kind of match that was going to win and kind of continue to gear up. I think they never had enough opportunity in the match. I mean, she did a couple and stuff like that, but I think she's more powerful than what was portrayed in the match. I mean, she did a couple bits here and there, but it was totally how dominant Gonzalez was and how powerful she was. But I think they could have made it that maybe Martinez had a bit more of that in it, and it would have been believable to that, because she's a big woman. Do you know what I mean? But the way it was, Gonzalez was just totally more in control, apart from a wee odd move here. It's definitely. Do you know what I mean? And I felt she's did push in. Just talking about what you're saying there with who's maybe next, I think I would see. I think Ember Moon deserves that wee kind of push as well. I think she's been very, very impressive. I think her ring ability's great, and I know with a mix of ability side, but I think it would be a very interesting contest. So I would like to see Ember Moon get a wee opportunity.
Absolutely. I mean, she got a kind of shot on Raw, didn't she? And then bumped back down. Fair enough, it's worked out with the NXT tag teams, but it's kind of one of these things. I think along the lines of what you say with Martinez, I don't know if they maybe made her if you made her a bit more dirty in her wrestling style, tried to take some shortcuts or something, and maybe that feud there could have went somewhere. Personally, I'm just trying to throw something out there to potentially. That could have made something better for that match, but I really can't. I'm clutching at straws if I'm going to try and say that there was anything else singular that they could do to make that match better. To be honest, other than just a different opponent, but it was simply going to be a notch on her record. Gonzalez to go forward, a win. So you can't say anything. Technically wise, the wrestling was good. To be fair, it wasn't too bad. The finish was good. The single arm powerbomb was good. And she's a big, strong woman, so it's certainly going to be somebody that's going to have to topple her. But I like what you guys are saying with the feuds. I think there's potential for something special, and somebody fresh like Sarai, I think, would be phenomenal to watch, because I think we all quite agree that the Japanese wrestlers just seem to be able to pull things out the bag that some of the wrestlers don't seem to be able to do. So I don't know how we're going to go with this one. Do you think it's going to be something that's going to develop into maybe a triple threat or something like that, or do you think there's a dead cert? Does anybody think there's a dead cert opponent for this one, or do you think it's because I can't call it personally?
Probably not a dead cert. Like, is it kind of shows the difference between like in NXT and Raw and how much like talent there is to use, and there's not enough time to use it. If that makes sense. And on Raw again, they're using the same superstars or whatever, which is to their own fault, really. But I mean, like you can name maybe 4 or 5 women that've got a probable cause to being a chance for a shot.
Absolutely. We'll need to see how this one pans out, of course, but it maybe didn't live up to something. That's maybe one thing we can say that finally NXT hasn't maybe nailed for once, other than giving her a nice wee W on our record. We are introduced to a new faction in Hit Row. They give an emphatic warning to NXT. Now here's the names, just try not to butcher them. Top Dollar, Ashanti, the Theodonis, and B-Fab. Now I don't know about you guys, but does Ashanti, does she not sort of remind you of a certain Jade on AEW a wee bit? Is this NXT's answer to Jade?
Possibly. Whether she's capable in the ring remains to be seen, because Jade's really capable as well as imposing. And you might have served notice in the locker room, but they couldn't have served notice to any of the writers, who clearly never had a lot of time to come up with that shit name for a new stable. They might be exciting. I hope they prove me wrong. There's nothing about the name yet, or the aura that they might bring that's got me excited. Again, this was supposed to be a big reveal, but it left me feeling so bad.
What about yourself, Ryan?
Aye, the only thing that stood to me is if you watched that WWE Treasures, Top Dollar is the guy.
Yep.
And that's what I could see. I said, that's the guy that fucking rode in the car Undertaker.
The guy that brings all the that's got the budget to bid for all the treasures.
Aye, that's Top Dollar.
I can't believe that. I never even recognised that.
Aye, that's what I could see. I was like, that's the fucking guy that just throws money at people.
He's a miserable bastard in that programme. Why do they call him Top Dollar?
I don't know fucking he's. I don't know. But he's making a rhyme with his alright. That's maybe about the best part. Adonis is annoying. I don't like him, just in general. He's done nothing for me. B-Fab, I didn't know who she was. She just appeared last week, and I was like, oh, there's a new lady. Cool. And they call her B-Fab. Cool.
I think I've just been naming them after ice creams or something. I don't know.
But where's A-Fab?
Who knows? Along with C-Fab somewhere, I don't know, mate. I don't know. What do you make of this stable? Is it something that maybe you think is going to grow on you? I know we don't know a great deal about them all. Fair enough, Top Dollar. He certainly changed his character enough for obviously somebody not to actually recognise him, which I think, to be honest, a lot of us wouldn't. Personally, last week when he caught was it Theory he caught or something? I think it was us. It wasn't Theory. Sorry, who was it he caught last week? Ruff. That's it. Leon Ruff. When he caught him, it was certainly, it never crossed my mind once. To be honest with you, so tonight, Ryan, you shouting that out, mate. To be honest, it's only just clicked, I think, with myself as well. But his rhymes weren't great. He's no John Cena, is he? When it comes to the ratting scene, that's for sure. But he obviously he's forming them into some sort of wee kind of gang, giving them their own titles and whatnot. So what do you make it, Greg? Is it something you think you're going to start to like, or are you? I'm not a big fan in the get go.
It'll probably slag me off, but I quite like. The definitely potential for it. I just don't know what it was. I think I like seeing that side. I say myself. I think it's getting him in the right direction. I think it's really believable what they were saying and stuff. There's definitely scope to it. Though it wasn't like brilliant. I think over the weeks as they get more time on the mic and they progress, I think it's something that we could really and believe. But no, I think it was good to see because it was something kind of different. I mean, you've not really seen that. There's not so many in the NXT. I think it's something undisputed there in the groups. But like, no, I thought it was good. And I know I'm kind of missing all that bit.
I think if you took the power of positivity and took Bo Dallas Believe and we had a baby, it would be you on a podcast.
You gotta believe.
Took it like a champion next week.
I know for a fact if Greg was about in the years when it was the gobbledygooker and the doity clown and all that, he'd be like, just give them a chance, guys.
Hey, Doity Clown. Do not ever disrespect his name.
Oh, good.
Fucking love him.
But you've got to see. You've got to try and see where they're coming. I think it's something to push. It's definitely going to give him a push. I mean, he's a very talented guy. I think we've seen that in the ring, his ability and stuff like that. So I think only doing something like that is going to help him. You've got to try and do the best of it. There's things it's absolutely terrible. Again, the Shotzi Blackheart wasn't in it. But the first 30 seconds, she wasn't going to win it. So, but I stuck with it and got there and
Believed.
You keep saying we've got to see. I've got to see nothing. I've decided I hate them and that's it. And now I'm even more determined. Fuck them.
It certainly was an interesting. It's an interesting new side to Swerve. I didn't quite take to the guy, as you know. I just felt that it was just. I suppose it's kind of still going the same way with the whole music vibe. That he's kind of trying to be Travis Scott, the rapper. But see, to be fair, it's a different attitude. And I've only got hope for NXT and their creative team that they're going to produce a better faction than the likes of Teabag and Mace and all that. So hopefully, here's hoping we're going to get a better thing than Retribution on our hands. Which, let's face it, if it's going to be a faction v faction type thing, I'm all for it. Especially if it's going to be they're not trying to copy AEW in the sense because there's obviously 2 women going to be involved. So it's like it could be a tag match, anything. It could be intertwining singles matches or tag matches or something. But it's going to be more interesting than Retribution any day of the week. So
they're not be trying to copy AEW because AEW's factions are brilliant.
To be fair, either there's no a faction right now that are as good as I'm not going to even say the Pineapple, but certainly the Jericho faction. That's the best one out for sure. No taking away for them. I think it's going to take a lot to knock them off their mantle. But we move on to yet another hilarious Cameron Grimes segment. Please just keep them coming, NXT. The use of Ted DiBiase is absolutely phenomenal. Yet again, outbidded on purchasing a house. What do you make of this? Where do you see it going? For a split second, I thought my wee prediction of maybe becoming a manager of him. It was about to happen when he handed over his paddle and put it in his pocket. I was thinking, oh, is there something here? But nah, yet again, they just kind of slapped him my backhanded compliment.
Just keep them coming. Really, it just it kind of breaks up NXT. And maybe you'll get like 3 or 4 matches, and you'll if this just be short, maybe like 2-minute segment is Cameron Grimes just in DiBiase just fucking gone at it, and it's just hilarious. And it goes back into the show again. It's just that's incredible. He's, I mean, when he started to where he is now, Cameron Grimes has really grown on me, and I'm such a fan now. I love him.
Absolutely. What do you see it doing for him, Liam? Do you see this kind of building for him, even if there's no actual management prospects of Grimes taking on the $1 million man as a manager? I don't think it's something that's necessarily going to happen. But what do you kind of take from obviously the way they've went in this direction of the storyline?
I love this. I can't get enough of it. Really enjoyable. At first, I was hoping you get carried away with yourself about the potential of it, and you think, oh, could they reintroduce the $1 million championship to NXT? Is it going to, provide a presence? And for me, Cameron Grimes is everything that Sami Zayn isn't. He's interesting, he's funny, he's watchable, and I never want to slap him in the mouth.
So there was no lag there, was there?
You were like that guy in the front row when the Undertaker lost the streak. I'm done.
That's hurt me to the core.
What does it do for you, Greg, with him being involved?
Absolutely brilliant. Like the guys are saying, keep it coming. Just Cameron Grimes is so funny. I've been a fan from day one. I think he's kind of deserved this kind of outtake. But like I'm in the lines of you, Lewis. I think along with being like a manager and stuff. I think that's the only side for me that I would love to see Grimes in the ring. His in-ring ability is brilliant. He's really good. Something like Ted DiBiase being his manager and putting towards something like a title, but definitely they're actually that good that you kind of lose concentration for the next match because you're still thinking how good the segment was. So you're like, I'm still laughing at that, and I'm trying to take in about Grimes, and I think they do it perfectly. So it's brilliant. Cameron Grimes, Sami Zayn, uniform.
Absolutely, and they could be holding off maybe. Doing these wee segments could be holding them off for the right person to be holding the right championship for him to jump in and obviously take it off him. Maybe they don't want to put him up against anybody right now, but obviously they like the kind of traction this kind of storyline's taking. I've certainly totally changed my mind of him. For the beginning, I used to really hate watching him, I've got to admit, because it was really, really annoying. It was just, there was nothing to it. Like, his theme annoyed me. Him just coming out and doing that ridiculous laugh, but now I'm just like, give me more. It's just hilarious. Just the way he's kind of just, it's the whole kind of investment thing where that they're bringing in real life storylines with this Bitcoin and all this crap, and it's the fact they brought this in, and that just sparked something. The way that they've just pulled a storyline from out in the real world into this show, and then just turned it into some sort of comedic kind of thing. I thought it was brilliant. It wasn't just a simple thing. He's coming in, he's going to throw some money about, and then that's it, done. They've actually just took it and ran with it completely. And it's working 100%. And to bring Ted DiBiase in, I don't think anybody's ever going to complain about seeing him on your screen. Definitely not.
No, definitely not.
Unless it's his son. Maybe different. I don't know. I think he's a forgotten guy, isn't he? So we move on to Kyle O'Reilly and Oney Lockhart. Of course, Pete Dunne making himself known again at the ringside. I thought it was a decent physical match. I don't know what your guys' take on it. What's the kind of your take on it, Ryan?
I was kind of let down. I don't know why. Just it's both guys are capable of so much more, and it just I don't know what it was with the match. I couldn't get into it. But fucking cleanse the beacons. Because Bobby Fish is back. That made my night. The Fish has returned. I'm happy. Fucking. Thank God he's alright. That's what I'm saying.
They belong under the sea, Ryan. That's where they belong.
Missed the big moustache bastard.
What was your take on it, Liam? When you quite did you find it quite underwhelming in a way? It could have maybe had a bit more stakes involved or drama at least. Would you agree with that, or would you kind of just, do you think it was one of these ones that was kind of underwhelming, just full stop?
I maybe had lower expectations than Ryan. I wasn't that disappointed because I wasn't really expecting that much. It was okay. It was all right. You know, it wasn't decent brainbuster, and I don't know. Try to think of something else to say positive about it. It was all right.
I thought, if anything, the bigger part of the whole thing was certainly the Fishman returning. Definitely, I agree. His name is bloody ridiculous. It's not something you expect to ever see rocking up on wrestling, especially when it's going to be a feud. And honestly, it's just anytime his name's mentioned, Riddle has just imprinted that in my mind. How much fish could Bobby Fish fry? Bobby Fish could fry fish. It's just absolutely phenomenal. But it was, I like that storyline, the way they played that, because we obviously were all kind of questioning it. Where is he, first of all? And then how's he going to react to the whole breakup? Is it going to be a personal thing when they're all on one person's side, or so on and so forth? There was a bit of mutual respect. He came back and I rescued him from being attacked. And then said he's got his own scores to settle. So that still leaves the idea of them potentially teaming up again in the future. Maybe a wee tag team, since we've seen Tommaso Ciampa and Thatcher, considering the two guys were wringing each other's necks at one point. Now they're teaming up. These guys are used to being a team, so they potentially could be a very good tag team to add to the tag teams we've already got, the rich tag team division that I think is probably one of the most impressive out of all the kind of the shows for sure in WWE. Is it something you would want to see in the near future? Maybe them. Also, are you quite interested to see how? Personally, I don't know who Bobby Fish is referring to first and foremost. I don't know who he would go for first. If he's going to go for Auckland, or if he's going to try and go for Dunn, I don't know. I don't know who you see that one going.
Probably Adam Cole. Just for kind of like writing up UE. But like I don't know how it'd go, because I've never seen Bobby Fish as a singles competitor. He's always just been a tag team guy. But it's the same like really. Aye. Trust your supper, mate. But I've like I don't know. It's probably Adam Cole was referring to, but I don't know how the feud would go. But I'd personally like to see them like maybe eventually team up again and go for the tag titles off Ciampa and Thatcher, MSK.
Oh, no chance, mate. No happening. No happening. MSK forever. Over yourself, Greg, and you is it something can you see any storylines kind of forming from this from the get go? Any predictions you'd like to throw in there?
It's an interesting one. Obviously, he's got a lot of issues back. I've always kind of liked him. The only I'd like to maybe see like a few somebody like Lorcan that I can only think we kind of have had with the Undisputed Era like that. Somebody like Lorcan who's a kind of long food. I think possibly him. I'm trying to think maybe who else is in there, but no, I think the new maybe further down the line, Cairo like Fish to go for the titles again. I think that would be good, but no, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what Fish. He's a singles competitor. I mean, because as Ryan was saying, he's only comes out with who then he can face. But no, I think they would be a good match.
Abby's new taunt in the next WWE game.
Can he be?
Why he's never done that, I don't know. That's brilliant. So swiftly moving on, the main event of the night, 2 out of 3 falls. NXT Cruiserweight Championship, Kushida versus Santos Escobar. I'm not calling Pablo ever again, I promise. Just one of these things, I think, isn't it? It's the most well-known Pablo Escobar is the most well-known Escobar out there, isn't he? But overall, we know how well both of these competitors are performance-wise in the ring, and we know what they're capable of. So, did it disappoint, or did it just absolutely ignite for you, Liam? Did it make things even 10 times better for you?
I love this. This was probably, talking about post Blood and Guts, this is the best match for me. I thought it was unbelievable. So much going on, so much skill and technical ability, and really unknown. You know where the match was going to go. They kept it exciting enough. By letting it be the 2-1, getting rid of everybody earlier on actually helped. I thought, so you were able to concentrate on the competitors then, set the stage for what I thought was really enthralling. I absolutely loved this. Really, really well told story, and I actually think if this was in a main event pay-per-view, I don't think we'd have been disappointed. I've seen main events on the main shows, promotions and pay-per-views that weren't as good as this. I thought it was absolutely class. I couldn't speak highly enough about it. The bridging suplex is so impressive that I tried it on my cat a couple of times. Can't pull it off yet. But I absolutely loved it. I'm struggling to come up with superlatives to tell you how much I loved it that I've not already used for other shows in the podcast before. But I thought this was magic.
Absolutely. What was your kind of overall thoughts yourself, Greg? Are you kind of along the same lines as Liam? Because it was one hell of a match, and personally, for me, I think it's these are the two to carry this kind of division going forward. They're certainly two impressive wrestlers that I don't think NXT are going to want to lose anytime soon. And what's your kind of overall thoughts of the match itself, and going forward, what do you want to see for these two?
I absolutely loved the match as well. I think it just had absolutely a very beginning, like Liam was saying, just pace, power, intense, just non-stop action. From the get-go, I think Santos Escobar for me is just absolutely calm. And when you see him in the ring, I just think he portrays every day so well, and he's really actually Kushida massive favours for this. Kushida's as well. I think, and in that sense, we just having this how quickly the pins were at one stage is the move for she's finished at the get spin, and then you were kind of then second when Kushida them in the I think it was the armband for the then make it one each, but I love it. And I think there was both to the outside, so it was just after, and then the ending with the game was just perfect. But no, it was probably, I agree with Liam, one of the best matches. It was one of the ones you didn't want to end just because of how good I felt sorry for her, but he lost because it really could have went either way. But no, it's fantastic. I thought I'd play to MD who's going to take on Kushida. I'm not sure who's going to be next for him, but his submission moves, man, I'm going to be up against that.
No, you're right. They're both very technical wrestlers, and Kushida's one hell of an impressive performer in that ring. And he almost won the match as well, the way he won the championship belt off him in the first place round. So is it something that you were kind of hoping maybe would happen again, just to kind of put that final nail in the coffin for Escobar?
Well, first what I will say is the only kind of bad thing about this match was that it probably isn't long enough. I could have watched them go maybe like an hour, half hour easily. Because both guys are just phenomenal in the ring. They're so talented. I was kind of happy to see Kushida win. Is it? But now moves Escobar away from the cruiserweights. And it's probably going to build him up to like, a bigger title now. Maybe challenge like Reed or Gargano, whoever wins the title next week. He's got the talent to do it, definitely. But it's just I don't know who's next for Kushida. Really, unless Swerve goes for it to give him a title with his faction. I don't know. But I mean, if they fight an hour 50 times, I'd be happy. Just go on you go.
Absolutely, no. I think it would be interesting, to be honest, to see. Like you say, I think it's quite hard to call who else is on. Obviously, with Leon Ruff, I'm sure he threw his hat in the ring, albeit he's injured now probably for however long that the fingers take to heal in the WWE world. I don't know, because in reality it's usually over a month in it, so I don't know if they're actually going to keep him out for that length of time. But we'll see if he all of a sudden has a miraculous recovery. But I think Swerve would be a shout, and it would still keep the faction thing alive. It'd be like, you know, him holding a title and Gargano holding a title, or potentially them maybe both not having titles at one point before the clash would be interesting as well. But I mean, anybody that's kind of in and around the Karrion Kross thing that's maybe not involved now because of the obviously the Balor feud, I think it's quite safe to say you could probably throw any of the guys in that hat now just for a side story now, just to carry him across now. But we'll see how it goes. I'm going to throw it in there for you, right? Championship wise, all the championships we know on the line. Out of them all, we've got the tag championships, the North American Championship, and obviously the NXT Championship. Do we see a clean sweep of retains at NXT in your house? Early predictions, obviously. Or do we see whoever's holding it at the time, do we think there's going to be a couple of changes?
I think one change for the NXT Championship and retain for the other two.
So shout out about yourself, Ryan.
I could probably see only the North American one changing.
Yourself, Greg?
I was going to say cruiserweight there, but I can't see him. They try to go through my mind who would maybe take on. Should have deserved a long run, but I think MS.
Oh, we've lost him. Greg, come back.
I'm following what Greg would have said. Greg would have probably said something like, they're all good guys, they all deserve a title, let's just strike up more belts for everybody.
I don't know if he's there.
No, I'm not there.
I've just seen that light hit his face. Are you still there, Greg? Oh, he's gone. He's left.
Oh, no.
He's so upset with that. I mean, coming to the closing of the show,
he's got the show.
He's left us.
That's him. He's done.
Better not say it about shots. He'll be very upset. Until Greg comes back, I've got a wee bit of potential breaking news. Apparently, Zelina Vega has been spotted at the Performance Centre. She's not been there for just a visit of any sort. It's a genuine thing that she's been there, and she's been there for filming. So in case you missed that, Greg, we've got a wee bit of breaking news until you came back there. Zelina Vega is apparently returned to WWE. What's your thoughts on that, guys? Obviously, she had a wee bit of an interesting exit, as so to speak. We've seen obviously our partner Aleister Black make a return to the WWE. Obviously, so there's obviously something there considering you would expect him maybe to jump ship if obviously it's affecting his life with her getting basically booted for the show. I would just be quite excited to see her return, especially since Andrade's now off the scene.
I kind of hope she returns with Aleister. Right. It says Ugado's building up, so if they were filming, then like, could it be promos maybe with Aleister?
That's a shout. Could be. Do any of you guys see anything different coming about, or do you think do you think Ryan's got a shout there with the Alistair Black thing? Do you think they'll finally pair the two of them?
It's possible. I don't really couldn't care less about her. Really fussed with it, what she does. She never bothered me one way or another.
How about yourself, Greg?
No, I think what Ryan's saying is really, really interesting. I think she would be maybe actually see her maybe in the women's division. I think that would be quite interesting. Just with the talent there, maybe see what she could do. Be quite good because you've seen her in the ring. She's good and the match she had against and stuff for the title. It's essential. So either the thing with Alistair Black or NXT, I would like that. I think.
Could she be Diamond Mine?
Oh, true. That's a shout. Because we're still in the idea what that is. At all.
It's probably Tessa Blanchard, but you know, there's always.
I never know. I mean, especially with all the Eva Marie stuff going on as well. Obviously, we didn't really mention that in the Raw thing, but I suppose it was just much of the same. So we've got
that was probably correct.
Aye, no comment.
Yeah, he's might be thanking me if she brings along the next Brock Lesnar. You never know.
Well,
no, that's fine. Just sort of try and ease it in, you know.
She's a future champion.
Greg with the defense there. There we go. So, Greg, we missed your prediction, mate. Who you thought was going to lose the NXT thing. So you may need to repeat that for us, mate, because you froze, unfortunately.
The tag titles will say the same. I think. The women and men's will stay the same. The only one I can see maybe changing is the North American Championship. American, I think, with the cruiserweight as well, because she deserves to go in a long run. So I think I can only see maybe somebody.
Absolutely. I'm the same, to be honest. I think it's going to be the North American Championship. I've got a feeling that it's going to be Reed obviously holding it, and then I think we're going to get a wee bit of a feud with him and LA Knight again, because obviously they had a wee kind of teaser of a feud, and it's never really came to much. It was just a kind of a wee small kind of feud. I wouldn't even call it a full feud. It was a miniature feud before obviously the big match they had, obviously, when we all were kind of predicting who was going to win, and then it turned out that it was nobody that we thought. But you never know. We'll see what happens. But I certainly, it was an interesting couple of predictions we've got. It'll be interesting to see if I've got any of these ones right. There it is. He's back. The man is back. Just in time.
I was fucking bursting for that fee, man.
We're all good. We all need to go. We need to go. But that's everything for Raw. A wee bit of potential surprise news, maybe for Zelina Vega returning. In what capacity, we don't know. But I would like to say thanks to everyone who's getting involved, especially you, Michael. You've still been involved heavily, mate, even though you're not here in person. And anybody else is involved in the chat will maybe not mention. Thanks for joining. We're going to have another podcast on the lead up to WrestleMania Backlash. We've got a new feature on our Anchor website, any platform, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You can send us in your voice clips and potentially be involved in the next show. So if you've got any questions to fire at us, guys, or any topics you want us to talk about, fire them in, and you've got a chance of being included in the next podcast. But until next time, thanks for tuning in. Peace.